Hey everyone, and welcome back to the NOSR Webs podcast. We're diving deep into crypto price predictions. But before we get started, don't forget to check out the awesome offers waiting for you down in the links below. Okay, so today we're focusing on Axie Infinity. You know that play-to-earn game everyone's talking about? It's got its own cryptocurrency, AXS. And trying to guess where the price is headed is like trying to herd cats, but hey, that's what makes it fun, right? We'll be exploring some pretty wild predictions. Some folks are saying AXS could plummet to $5, while others think it could skyrocket past $200. Buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride.
Predicting the price of anything, especially in the crypto world, is a bit like reading tea leaves. There are just so many variables at play, and no one has a crystal ball.
Okay, true, but doesn't that make it even more intriguing? It's like a puzzle we're trying to solve, piecing together all these different factors to see the bigger picture.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here to do. We've got a stack of predictions to unpack, and it's fascinating to see how different experts approach this challenge.
Let's start with the year 2025. Changelly, for example, predicts that AXS could reach an averaging price of around $27.33. Not bad, right? But wait, there's more. BitScreener, on the other hand, throws out a much bolder number. They're saying it could hit a whopping $172 for 45 cents.
It's important to note that Changelly arrives at their prediction by looking at historical data and applying statistical models. They take into account factors like past price movements, trading volume, and market trends to come up with a more conservative estimate. BitScreener, on the other hand, appears to be focusing more on the game's potential for growth and adoption. They believe that as Axie Infinity continues to evolve and attract new players, demand for AXS will surge, driving up the price.
See, I told you it was like a puzzle. We've got these different methodologies, different perspectives, and it all adds to the intrigue. Now, let's not forget about those who are a bit more cautious. Trading Beasts, for example, predicts AXS could hover around the $6 mark.
That's right, and that's where things get really interesting. You mentioned your own technical analysis suggesting potential support at $6 and resistance around $8.
Yes. When I look at the price charts, I see some interesting patterns emerging. Of course, technical analysis is just one tool in the toolbox, but it's definitely something to consider.
Absolutely. And it's just one piece of the puzzle. To really understand where AXS might be headed, we need to consider all the factors at play. But before we dive into that, let's zoom out even further and look at the long-term projections. Some analysts believe that AXS could reach a jaw-dropping $206.20 by 2050.
Whoa! Now that's a number that makes you want to invest in a time machine, right? But seriously, that's a long way off, and predicting anything that far out as well, let's just say it's a gamble.
It is, but it's still fascinating to think about the possibilities. What could potentially drive AXS to such heights? Or conversely, what could lead to its downfall? To answer those questions, we need to delve into the key factors influencing these predictions.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with the big picture, the overall health and sentiment of the cryptocurrency market.
Exactly. Think of it like a tide that can lift all boats, or in this case, all cryptocurrencies. If the market is booming, there's a good chance AXS will ride that wave. And there are some recent bullish indicators that suggest we might be heading in that direction.
Okay, that's good news for AXS holders. But market dynamics are just one part of the story. What about the game itself?
Game developments are absolutely crucial. Axie Infinity is constantly evolving, and the team behind it is always working on new features and updates.
Like what? Give us the juicy details.
Well, there's AXS staking, which allows holders to earn passive income. It's like putting your AXS to work for you even while you sleep. And then there's the introduction of land gameplay, which adds a whole new dimension to the Axie universe.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. Explain this land gameplay thing. It sounds like they're building a whole virtual world within the game.
That's exactly what they're doing. Players will be able to buy, sell, and develop virtual land, creating their own unique experiences and potentially earning even more rewards.
Wow, it's like they're creating a digital real estate market within Axie Infinity. That's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. But let's not forget the regulatory landscape. Governments around the world are still figuring out how to deal with cryptocurrencies, and any new regulations could have a major impact on the market.
You're absolutely right. The regulatory environment is like a wild card. Positive regulations could provide stability and attract more institutional investors, which would be great for AXS. But stricter regulations could have the opposite effect, creating uncertainty and scaring away investors.
So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And speaking of things to watch, we can't forget about technological innovations. Axie Infinity needs to stay ahead of the curve if it wants to remain competitive.
Absolutely. Continuous improvement in the game's technology and user experience is essential. If it gets stale or clunky, people will move on to the next big thing.
And that would be bad news for the price of AXS. So they need to keep innovating, making the game more fun and engaging to keep players hooked.
That ties back to the value proposition. What makes Axie Infinity so interesting is that it's not just about speculation, it's about utility.
Right. You can actually play the game, earn rewards, and even own a piece of the digital world they're creating. That's pretty unique in the gaming world. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about a force that often gets overlooked: community sentiment.
Ah, yes. The human element. The Axie Infinity community is incredibly passionate and vocal. Their enthusiasm can be a major driver of price increases, but their concerns can also lead to sell-offs.
It's like they have the power to move markets with their collective thoughts and feelings.
In a way, they do. A positive buzz on social media can create a buying frenzy, sending prices soaring. But if the community starts to doubt the project, it can trigger a mass exodus, leading to a price crash.
So keeping an eye on community sentiment is crucial for anyone who wants to understand and maybe even predict AXS price movements.
It's like having your finger on the pulse of the Axie Infinity ecosystem. But before we get carried away with all these predictions, let's remember that they're all speculative.
Right. We're not financial advisors, and we're not telling anyone to buy or sell AXS.
Exactly. This is just a deep dive into the information that's out there. Do your own research, understand the risks involved, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. That's rule number 1 in the crypto world.
Words of wisdom. Now, before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive...
Hold on, we haven't even touched on it.
Oh, you're right.
Complete.
We still have so much to cover. Look like we'll need to break this deep dive into multiple parts.
That's okay. We like to be thorough, and it gives our listeners something to look forward to.
Exactly. So stay tuned for part 2 of our Axie Infinity adventure, where we'll delve even deeper into the fascinating world of price predictions and the factors that could make or break this exciting cryptocurrency.
And in the meantime, don't forget to check out those amazing offers we mentioned earlier. The links are in the description below.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Welcome back to part 2 of our Axie Infinity saga. Let's pick up where we left off, exploring the factors that could send AXS to the moon or crashing back down to Earth.
You know, when we talk about Axie Infinity, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, the price predictions, the market trends. But we can't forget about the heart and soul of this game, the community.
Ah, yes, the Axie community. A vibrant mix of players, investors, developers, and enthusiasts, all united by their passion for this game. It's a force to be reckoned with.
It's like they've created their own little world within the cryptoverse, with its own language, culture, and even memes.
Precisely. And as we touched upon earlier, community sentiment can have a huge impact on price predictions.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When people believe in a project, they invest, they spread the word, and that excitement can drive up the price.
Exactly. And this isn't just some abstract concept. We can actually see this play out in real time. Social media platforms like Twitter and Reddit are like the pulse of the Axie community. A surge in positive sentiment with people buzzing about new updates or partnerships can trigger a buying frenzy, sending prices skyrocketing.
But on the flip side, if the community starts to lose faith, maybe they're unhappy with a new update or they're worried about the game's sustainability, that negative sentiment can quickly lead to a sell-off, dragging the price down with it.
This is why keeping an eye on community sentiment is crucial for anyone who wants to understand the dynamics of the Axie Infinity market. It's like having a window into the collective psyche of the players and investors.
So how do we actually gauge this community sentiment? Are we talking about scrolling through endless Twitter threads and Reddit posts?
Well, that's certainly one way to get a feel for the general vibe. But there are also more sophisticated tools available, like sentiment analysis software. These programs can analyze online discussions and news articles, tracking the overall positivity or negativity surrounding Axie Infinity.
So if we see a lot of positive buzz online, it could be a sign that the price is poised for an upward swing. But if the sentiment turns sour, it might be time to proceed with caution.
Exactly. It's like having a barometer for the Axie Infinity ecosystem. But remember, community sentiment is just one piece of the puzzle. It's important to consider all the other factors we've discussed, like market trends, game developments, and the regulatory landscape.
Right, it's all interconnected. Now, I'm curious, have there been any real-life examples of this community sentiment influencing Axie Infinity's price?
Oh, absolutely. Remember back in 2021 when Axie Infinity first exploded in popularity? It was everywhere. People were raving about the play-to-earn model, the adorable Axies, the potential potential earn real money while playing a game.
Yeah, I remember that. It seemed like everyone was talking about Axie Infinity.
Exactly. And that wave of excitement, that positive sentiment translated into a massive price surge for AXS. It was like a rocket taking off. But as with any hyped up asset, things eventually started to cool down. Some players found the game's increasing complexity a bit overwhelming. Others worried about the long-term sustainability of the play-to-earn model.
So the cracks started to show, and that initial euphoria began to fade.
Precisely. And as that positive sentiment waned, some investors started taking profits, leading to a price correction. It's a classic example of how community sentiment can swing both ways, influencing both the rise and fall of an asset's price.
That's a powerful reminder that even in the crypto world, where technology and innovation reign supreme, human emotions still play a significant role. It's a reminder to never underestimate the power of the crowd.
Indeed. Now, before we get too carried away with the hype and the predictions, let's take a moment to acknowledge the elephant in the room, the speculative nature of all this.
Right. No one can predict the future with 100% certainty, especially in the crypto world, where things can change faster than a chameleon in a rainbow factory.
Exactly. And while it's fun to explore these price predictions, it's crucial to approach them with a healthy dose of skepticism. Don't base your investment decisions solely on what you hear from experts or analysts, no matter how convincing they may sound.
It's tempting to get swept up in the excitement, especially when you see those eye-popping price projections. But we need to remember that the crypto market is like a roller coaster. It's full of exhilarating highs and stomach-churning lows.
And speaking of potential risks, let's shift gears and talk about some of the challenges facing Axie Infinity. One of the biggest is maintaining that delicate balance between playability and profitability.
Right. On the one hand, they need to make sure the game is fun and engaging to attract new players and keep existing players hooked. But on the other hand, they also need to make sure it's profitable enough to sustain its play-to-earn model.
Exactly. It's a tightrope walk. If the game becomes too focused on profit, it risks alienating players who are just looking for a fun gaming experience. But if it's not profitable enough, it could struggle to attract investors and developers, which would ultimately hurt the game's growth and the value of AXS.
It's like trying to juggle chainsaws while riding a unicycle. A tricky balancing act. And let's not forget about the competition. The play-to-earn gaming space is getting more crowded by the day, with new games popping up all the time.
Absolutely. Axie Infinity needs to constantly innovate and evolve to stay ahead of the curve. They can't afford to rest on their laurels, especially in such a dynamic and competitive market.
It's like a constant arms race, with each game trying to outdo the other, with new features, better graphics, and more lucrative rewards. And then there's the ever-looming shadow of the regulatory landscape.
Ah, yes, the regulatory landscape. It's a constantly shifting terrain, with governments around the world still figuring out how to approach cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology.
It's like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded. One wrong step, and you could run into a wall of regulations, potentially harming the entire project.
Indeed. Axie Infinity, like any other cryptocurrency project, needs to navigate this complex landscape carefully to avoid running into legal hurdles. They need to stay informed, adapt to changing regulations, and ensure they're operating within the boundaries of the law.
So even though Axie Infinity is a popular and innovative project with huge potential, it faces its fair share of challenges.
That's the nature of the game, so to speak. Every investment carries risks. The key is to weigh the potential rewards against the potential risks and make informed decisions based on your own research and risk tolerance.
Right. And it's important to remember that we're not financial advisors. We're just two curious folks who love diving deep into these fascinating topics.
Now let's shift gears again and talk about some of the exciting opportunities that lie ahead for Axie Infinity. One of the most promising developments is the expansion of the Axie universe beyond just the core game.
Oh, tell me more about this. What are they cooking up over there at Axie HQ?
Well, they're building a whole ecosystem around the game with plans for land ownership, breeding, and even social interactions.
Wait, hold on. Land ownership breeding. It sounds like they're creating a whole virtual society within Axie Infinity.
That's the vision. Players will be able to own and develop virtual land, creating unique experiences and even earning rewards. They can breed their Axies to create new generations with unique traits and abilities. And they can interact with other players in a virtual world-building communities and fostering a sense of shared ownership.
Wow, that's a bold and ambitious move. It's like they're taking the concept of a play-to-earn game to a whole new level.
Exactly. And this expansion could attract a whole new wave of players and investors, further driving up demand for AXS.
It's like building a digital metaverse within the Axie Infinity universe. And speaking of metaverses and exciting new trends, we can't forget about the growing adoption of blockchain gaming in general.
Absolutely. More and more people are discovering the potential of play-to-earn games. They're attracted to the idea of owning their in-game assets and potentially earning real money from their gaming skills.
It's like the lines between gaming and investing are blurring, creating a whole new world of possibility.
Indeed. And Axie Infinity, as one of the pioneers in this space, is well positioned to benefit from this trend.
And let's not forget about the potential for partnerships and collaborations. We've already seen Axie Infinity team up with big names like Samsung and Ubisoft.
Those partnerships are a powerful signal that Axie Infinity is becoming a mainstream phenomenon. They bring in new players, increase brand awareness, and open up new revenue streams.
It's like they're building bridges between the traditional gaming world and the exciting new world of blockchain gaming.
So despite the challenges we've discussed, Axie Infinity has a bright future ahead of it.
It's a truly innovative project that's pushing the boundaries of gaming and blockchain technology.
It's definitely one to watch closely in the coming years.
Now, as we wrap up part 2 of our Axie Infinity deep dive, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned.
The world of cryptocurrency is constantly evolving. What's true today might not be true tomorrow.
So it's important to stay informed, do your research, and be prepared for the unexpected.
And remember, the best investment is always in knowledge.
That's why we do these deep dives.
Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore even more fascinating insights into the world of Axie Infinity.
We'll see you soon. Welcome back, fellow knowledge seekers, to the final part of our Axie Infinity deep dive. We've journeyed through price predictions, market trends, game developments, the power of community, and even the looming regulatory landscape.
It's been quite the adventure, hasn't it? We've explored the potential of Axie Infinity to revolutionize the gaming world and maybe even make a few people rich along the way.
But as we wrap up, it's important to remember that all these predictions we've discussed, those tantalizing glimpses into the future, are ultimately speculative.
Precisely. The crypto market is a wild beast full of surprises and sudden twists and turns. No one can predict with absolute certainty where AXS will be in a week, a month, or a year from now.
It's like trying to predict which meme will go viral next. It's unpredictable, it's chaotic, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
But that's also what makes it so fascinating, wouldn't you say? The very act of exploring these predictions, of trying to make sense of this complex and evolving world, can be a valuable learning experience in itself.
Absolutely. It's like a mental workout for our investor brains. We're flexing those analytical muscles, weighing different perspectives, and challenging our assumptions.
And just like any workout, the more we practice, the stronger and more informed we become as investors and decision makers.
So let's bring it all together. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. What are the key takeaways for our listeners? What's the big aha moment they should walk away with?
First and foremost, I hope our listeners now understand that Axie Infinity is far more than just a game. It's a complex ecosystem with its own vibrant community, its own unique economy, and its own culture.
Right. It's like a digital nation where players can earn, own, create, and connect with each other in a whole new way.
And the price of AXS, the fuel that powers this ecosystem, is influenced by a myriad of factors, both within the game and in the wider world.
We've seen how new game developments like the introduction of AXS staking and land gameplay can create a buzz and potentially drive up demand for the token.
Yeah. We've also seen how the regulatory landscape, with its ever-shifting rules and regulations, can inject uncertainty and volatility into the market.
And perhaps most importantly, we've explored the powerful role of community sentiment, that collective energy that can propel AXS to new heights or send it tumbling down.
It's a reminder that even in the seemingly cold and calculated world of cryptocurrency, human emotions still play a crucial role.
So what does all this mean for our listeners? What should they do with all this information we've thrown at them?
Here's the key takeaway. Don't blindly follow any predictions, ours included. Use them as a starting point for your own research and exploration.
Dive deep into the Axie Infinity ecosystem. Play the game, understand its mechanics, connect with the community, and see what all the fuss is about.
Read articles, watch videos, listen to podcasts. There's a wealth of information out there. The more you learn, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about whether or not AXS is the right investment for you.
And always remember, the crypto world is a high-risk, high-reward environment. It's exciting, it's potentially lucrative, but it's not for the faint of heart.
Wise words. Never invest more than you can afford to lose, and always be prepared for the unexpected.
Now, before we bid farewell to the fascinating world of Axie Infinity, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Oh, I love these. Lay it on us.
Considering everything we've discussed, the potential, the risks, the excitement, the uncertainty, What's your gut feeling about Axie Infinity? Where do you see it going in the next few years?
And perhaps even more importantly, how does Axie Infinity reflect the broader evolution of the crypto space? What does its success or failure tell us about the future of blockchain technology and its impact on our lives?
Heavy stuff, right? It's a lot to ponder, but that's what makes this whole crypto journey so compelling.
It's like watching a new world unfold right before our eyes. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our Axie Infinity deep dive.
We hope you found it informative, insightful, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
And don't forget to check out those amazing offers we have waiting for you in the description below.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge.